It's all about size.
Well, the mech fantasy is ultimately being the biggest kid on the playground with the biggest stick.
Mech Assult is about piloting these huge, just rockin' robots. They're about 40 feet to maybe 90 feet tall. They weigh anywhere from 35 to 100 tons.
It's all about firepower.
You unleash one of the weapons, buildings collapse and tanks blow up.
This is a 30-foot chunk of metal that you've just taken apart. Things are gonna blow up.
And it's all about creating a sequel to one of the biggest Xbox Live games of all time.
I think it was the first time a mech action game was done on the console. Done right.
It's the ultimate sandbox for a kid who wants to stomp and shoot and destroy.
This is the making of Mech Assult 2, Lone Wolf.
Oh, that hurt. Double whammy.
It's 1984. A Chicago-based company called FASA releases a new pen-and-paper role-playing game and creates a legend.
The guy that created BattleTech was a gentleman by the name of Jordan Weissman, an incredibly creative guy.
The BattleTech line sells 150,000 copies in 1986. That same year, FASA expands with the Mech Warrior line of strategy games.
The Mech Warrior universe is a universe that's filled with conflict. It's a galaxy-spanning conflict across hundreds of worlds where the primary means of fighting that conflict is these giant mechanized armored units called mechs, piloted by mech warriors. It's that combat between these mech warriors piloting these vehicles that really sort of embodies a lot of what the universe is about.
It's not long before the BattleTech universe enters the video game arena.
Several games, Mech Warrior 1 through 4, that have been released on the PC, primarily focus on the simulation aspects of driving the robots. You know, they're pretty true, much like if you could imagine simulating driving a tank.
FASA Studios obviously coming out the PC history of working on sort of the mech games. It did so many things so well that it became a huge, huge hit on PC.
In 1998, Microsoft acquires FASA.
We developed Mech Commander
Command interface initiated
at FASA Interactive and had some success with that. We started to look at other distribution options, and Microsoft was one of those. And one thing led to another, and they made an offer to buy the company. And they moved everybody from Chicago to Redmond, but I couldn't go.
Instead of joining FASA in Seattle, Denny Thorley decides to try something new.
We had this idea for this action-oriented BattleTech game, and Microsoft was coming out with the Xbox. It was a gleam in their eye at that time. They knew they needed some console-oriented stuff. They said, well, if you could put together a team, you know, we might be interested in pursuing that. We put some money together and created Day One Studios in 2001.
We had just announced that we were going to be pursuing the Xbox platform, and Denny came to me and suggested that Day One Studios would be an interesting company to work on a BattleTech game built exclusively for the Xbox platform.
When we first pitched the game, we did this kind of a cinema thing that wasn't interactive at all, but it was something that the marketing people and the sales people could really, you know, glob onto.
It seemed like an interesting opportunity, and we said, great, let's go. And that was sort of the genesis of Mech Assult 1.
Microsoft releases Mech Assult for the Xbox on November 12th, 2002.
The things that were great about Mech Assult 1, I think, were its accessibility. It was easy for people to get into. When they would start up the game, they understood immediately, you know, what this game was about and what to do.
Shooting an alien in a first-person shooter, you know, alien, purple blood, die, done. This is a 30-foot chunk of metal that you've just taken apart. Things are gonna blow up. There's fire, and there's whistles and explosions, and the sound goes off, and there's just a real real powerful moment of destruction. That's what gamers love.
Looks like your lucky day, Tiger.
Mech Assult is about piloting these huge, just rockin' robots, 40 feet to maybe 90 feet tall. They weigh anywhere from 35 to 100 tons, and they've just got massive amount of armament. And the game reinforces just how powerful these mechs are. The weapons, when you unleash one of the weapons, buildings collapse and tanks blow up.
Xbox Live was really important to Mech Assult, and Mech Assult was really important to Xbox Live. Mech Assult was probably the first to help establish itself as a really strong draw for people to come to Xbox Live.
The multiplayer aspect of being able to go online and do all of those things that you could do in single player, but do them again to your friends or with your friends in multiplayer, I think was really exciting for people, and it was something that you really weren't able to do on consoles prior to that.
We've got company.
I think Mech Assult was a great Xbox game and sold very, very well.
I think it was the first time a mech action game was done on the console and done right.
1 year after its release, Mech Assult becomes part of the Xbox Platinum lineup and wins GameSpot's Xbox Game of the Year award. Work immediately begins on a sequel. Now, Day One Studios faces the challenge of topping themselves.
Step on them.
Day One Studios creates a smash hit in 2002 with Mech Assult for the Xbox. But now they must make a sequel that surpasses the original.
This is the main character in the game. We kind of call him Wolf for short because he's the last of the Wolf Dragoons, so hence Lone Wolf.
The name of their new game is Mech Assult 2, Lone Wolf.
This right here is what we call our ultimate screenshot. This is the original vision we had for the game. This is the image in my head as I saw how the game was going to be played.
I think the goals for Mech Assult 2 were take all the things that people had loved about Mech Assult 1 and really blow them up into much sort of more grander explosions and buildings and so forth. One of the things that we wanted to do with Mech Assult 2 was give people more of a flavor of sort of the Battletech, the Mech Assult universe.
One of the biggest changes the team makes with Mech Assult 2 will give players a whole new view of the battlefield.
So this is the tool we use for putting in everything that goes into the game. And putting in all of the vehicles and the environments that you'll interact with. And eventually, you get something like this. And also putting in the AI and which direction they come at you from. It's really easy. You just drag it in, and there you go. And it's pretty cool.
Something I've always wanted to do was get out of the mech and be able to see these giant behemoths, running around. One of the problems with all the mech games is you were always in a perspective of a battle mech. So it was always hard to reinforce scale because you start out, you're 40 feet in the air. You see the whole world from that perspective, and it didn't really change up. You took a shorter mech or a taller mech, but it was hard to always impose that sense of scale.
You'll actually be required to get out of a mech. And when you see the mech walk by, and you're at human scale, it's unbelievable. You cannot believe how big these things are.
I kept having to say, trust me, trust me. In the beginning, it was like, why would I want to be this little ant? When I could be a mech, why would I do this? I'm like, trust me, it's going to be fun.
When you're thrown out of your mech, you're now running around a mech's battlefield and you're not in a mech. Well, that's going to be pretty terrifying.
They're just going to be in awe.
Taking players out of their mechs also opens doors to new gameplay elements.
You are not the mech, you are a pilot. So what kind of things grew out of that? Okay, if I was a pilot on a battlefield and I've been driving mechs for years, what other things might I want to drive, and in what situations would I want to drive them? What kind of actions are out there that just seem pretty cool?
We added tanks and turrets and flying vehicles that you could also get into and gave them their own special, unique abilities.
So we had this little suit. You could sneak and go places that the bigger mechs can't go.
With the battle armor, you're kind of hiding behind buildings' walls. Come out, it's got a lob weapon that you can hide behind things and lob stuff over.
has the power claw, which lets him jump and climb and attach to walls and just do a lot of super heroic things like that. His jump jets let him get up in the air and fly around. He has his mortar, which lets him kind of rain in death from afar over ridges and kind of sneak along.
The other thing the battle armor can do is it can jack mechs, so it can jump on the back of a mech and hack into it. And you'll get a sequence of code that comes up that you have to enter, and so does the person in the mech that's trying to fight you off. And whoever wins, if the battle armor wins, it ejects the pilot that's in the mech, and then you can take over the mech, and it's yours.
We aren't just adding vehicles for vehicles' sake. We want all these things to work together on the battlefield and give a real sense of combined arms fighting. So the battle armor can attach to the bottom of the VTOL.
And the VTOL can fly him, so you can get him to places you normally couldn't get.
The VTOLs can fly that battle armor across the field much faster.
And also upgrades his laser weapon to being super powerful when they're working together.
And together those two units make a much more powerful unit than those would separately.
And what we're seeing is just a much broader game experience from it.
So it's just, expanding the universe, giving you more things to do, getting you out of the mech, and making you the star of the game, as opposed to the mech being the star of the game.
While Day One Studios expands on the gameplay of Mech Assult 2, they must also create a new storyline that stays true to the BattleTech universe.
You sure we don't have time for another drink?
It's 2003, and Day One Studios is taking the gameplay of Mech Assult 2 Lone Wolf to new levels. Now they must craft a storyline that will engage players and stay true to the world of BattleTech.
There are lots of people who, over the years, have become very familiar with the BattleTech universe. We want to make sure that we pay homage to the things that they've come to know and love about the universe, but at the same time, bring them an experience that's also a little bit new and a little bit different.
The story of Mech Assult 2 it picks up off of Mech Assult 1. You definitely don't have to play Mech Assult 1 to know anything about Mech Assult 2, but for the people that did, we wanted to harken back to the original characters that were in your crew.
Well, all your cohorts from the first game are brought forward into this story. You have Major Natalia is still running the tactical operations.
Who's kind of the woman who tells you what to do all the time.
We need a jump point out of this system. I don't care how you do it. Just get us there in one piece.
She gives you the overview of what's going on the battlefield.
It's a trick. Open fire.
They're onto us. Don't hold back. Let them have it.
This is our operations officer, Foster.
Lieutenant Foster.
Lieutenant Foster still tunes your ride.
But the battle armor isn't ready for this. It could fry him.
No choice. We're using the battle armor.
And gets all the salvage in that you collect on the battlefield and makes it into fighting vehicles for you to use.
Foster's kind of a dopey tech guy that he develops some great technology for you and occasionally blows it.
We have problems. I'm reading a scout mech.
Big time.
Not good. Limit the commentary, Foster.
We have the pilot, which is the player character.
So the three of you defeated the Word of Blake in Mech Assult 1, and you're kind of hiding out on a planet trying to figure out what to do with this data core that you captured in the final mission of Mech Assult 1.
We're introducing some new characters.
There's a Lara. She's kind of mysterious.
You get to know the characters more because you're seeing them up close and personal.
Suddenly, surprise, there's an invasion.
Wherever we go, everything blows up.
The story sets off trying to figure out who's invading.
Sir, who are these guys? What do they want?
It turns out that there's more than just the one data core that you captured.
Bottom line, who are the hostile forces, and why did they care enough to shoot you down? I couldn't tell you.
So you're traveling from planet to planet, following these invasions that are going on, trying to pick up the other cores, figure out what technologies they have.
So instead of going back to a mission, you're kind of continuing a storyline and the characters continue and travel with you.
You go up against the ultimate villain and there's betrayal.
Alira, any explanation for this snafu?
No. Pirate jumps are tricky things.
You know, all that kind of soap opera stuff in there.
Enhanced graphics will put players into the world of Mech Assult like never before.
Products are better than the state of the art.
The main character needed to be heroic, but he couldn't look like anybody specifically. The way I chose to kind of deal with that mostly was not show his eyes. I mean, he kind of has this visor that hides his eyes. I could push and pull him and basically sculpt in the computer.
Here we have Lieutenant Foster, and we see his geometry, his model here. By moving these different controls,